So now, as you can see, I have my preliminary solid black shading all in place, and I'm now going to be moving on to my initial pass of color, which will be a nice bright green. And again, what I'm going to do is use more or less the same technique with my medium shade of gray, only with green. And I'm going to be a little more liberal with my application of green, because that's going to be the body of the color. That's going to be the majority of what color this is going to be. And again, being that I'm not going to use any negative skin as my highlight, I'm going to bring the yellow all the way through into you know, all the last little bits of skin which would be left negative if it were black and gray. I can bring my green out and kind of play with it a little more and bring it out a little more, a little deeper into other areas. So again, yeah, I'm going to move on to the green and moving on to the green and utilizing a little more coverage with that than I would be if it were black and gray. So I'm going to go ahead and start in the same spot that I usually start at, up in this area, and bring it down in here, and I'll show you exactly what I mean by how far I'll bring that in. And just like anything else, as I'm working into another area that's been previously shaded, you want to build it lightly and then work into a heavier solid pattern of shading to fill it in, to saturate it more so than blending. And again, with this, as you can see, blood is slightly darker than the color of green, so you're going to notice that a little more so with the green, like you did with the lighter black and gray shading. Now, a lot of different artists are going to use different techniques as far as the amounts of black in reference, or the ratio of black to color that they use. Generally speaking, it's a traditional, more old school technique to use a balanced, pretty much an even ratio of amount of black and gray, or initial black shading, to the amount of color that they put in. And it's a good technique to use, especially when you're doing a piece like this. You know, this is a more traditional style Sparrow. And to give that traditional effect, like, you know, that traditional effect like Sailor Jerry type of artwork or stuff like that, kind of like an homage to, you know, the traditional tattooers. That's kind of what I like to do. I try to keep it in that same ballpark as what they would have done initially, which is, you know, a moderate amount of black shading as opposed to color. Now, when you get into other stuff, other types of artwork like neo-traditional or more new school stuff, they like to use a lot of color saturation to where you really wouldn't use any black shading at all whatsoever. You know, you would just saturate it with just massive amounts of color. You know, you would break down your green into several different hues or shades of green. You know, you would start off with a deep green, fading into a dark green, into a medium green, into a light green, and then into yellows. And that's going to give you an entirely different effect. And with a particular piece like this, it wouldn't lend itself very well. You know, it's not extremely stylized. This is a more traditional, old school kind of Sailor Jerry piece. So that more traditional style of color is going to lend itself much better to this particular style of shading, which is why I'm sticking with that.